So we've made it to the final day of 2019, and this is the list I've been waiting to make the entire year. Here are my top 10 best movies of 2019. These are the movies that I absolutely love, that I've watched multiple times, the movies that I really want to watch in the future, that I want to talk more about in the future, and just all around the movies that I enjoyed the most. This is a really subjective list, so if you think that, say, Little Woman was the best movie of the year, that's not on my top 10 list, but you can think it. This isn't meant to be a list of the definitive best movies of the year. This is just the movies that I thought were the 10 best movies of 2019. So leave your top 10 movies of 2019 in the comments below, and without further ado, let's hop into this list with number 10. Coming in at number 10 is Godzilla King of Monsters. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I love giant monsters beating the crap out of each other movies. I absolutely adore them, and this was probably the most giant monsters fighting movie ever. It could have been better, which is why it didn't make it high on the list, but I just was having so much fun throughout this entire movie. Godzilla's just such an iconic monster, and seeing him go against King Ghidorah and Mothra showing up and all these different incredible battles was so satisfying that the entire thing. I'm so excited for Godzilla vs. King Kong coming out next year. It's my most anticipated movie of 2020, but I'll get to that in my most anticipated movies list. Anyway, I'm just so excited to watch this movie. To watch this movie again. I love this movie so much. It was so much fun to watch. The plot, there wasn't really any good plot. There wasn't any good character development throughout the entire thing. But it was just such a fun movie to watch, and so ridiculous that I just couldn't help but enjoy it. At number 9 is Fighting With My Family. This movie is about the wrestling industry and one of the most famous female wrestlers ever. It was a really fun movie. It was a really heartwarming movie throughout the entire thing, and I had a lot of fun watching it. I actually watched this on a plane, and normally movies that I watch on a plane I don't enjoy because I always feel sick on a plane, but I managed to really enjoy this movie. Of course, you've probably heard people saying this is such a great movie everywhere right now, but it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to watch it with other people to see what people who are seeing the movie for the first time, how they react to it. Haven't gotten a chance to do that yet, but it's just such a nice movie, and it was probably the sweetest. Well, no, I'll tell you what the sweetest movie is when we get to it, but it was one of the sweetest movies of the year, and I've already talked about it in previous lists, so I won't spend too long on it. It's a great movie. At number 8 is the movie that everyone was talking about this year, everyone's most anticipated movie of the year. Don't lie to me, this was your most anticipated movie of the year. Number 8 is Avengers Endgame. The Avengers movies are always kind of strange for me, because none of the Avengers movies I would say are my favourite Marvel movies. I think they're all really, really good, but it's hard to follow all the characters. This movie definitely did the best job of giving us full character arcs within the movie, but there were quite a few problems, I think, with the first 2 acts. If you watch my most disappointing movies of the year, Avengers Endgame was actually on that, but it still made the top 10. Why did it make the top 10? Because of the final act, which is the greatest final act in cinematic history. I don't think anything is ever going to top it. One thing I want to do in 2020 is watch every movie of the MCU leading up to Endgame, because just that final, 45 minutes is so incredible and so satisfying that even though the rest of the movie is kind of boring and hard to watch, that last act single-handedly drags it to this far up the list. But I actually think it was the worst Marvel movie that came out this year. And the second best Marvel movie that came out this year was Captain Marvel. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this. I think Captain Marvel was a better movie than Endgame. Why? Because most of this list is based on rewatchability. I love movies I can watch time and time again. One of my favourite movies of all time is Kingsman. This is a bit of a sidetrack. I've seen that movie 3 times this year. Every time I see it, I'm never bored. It's so fun throughout the entire thing, and Captain Marvel definitely works a lot better on rewatching than Endgame does, because the first 2 acts of Endgame can drag a lot, But Captain Marvel, it improves when you rewatch it because you know more information about the different characters, which makes the decisions make more sense. So I think Captain Marvel is definitely a movie that improves way more. Also, Goose as a character, that Goose scene, I'm not going to spoil it, but I feel like you should all watch it, probably gave me the same amount of joy, or same level of joy, maybe a little below, as the finale of Endgame. It was, the whole cinema lost it, probably more than they did with the final act of Endgame. That just shows you the power of cats in today's society. But I think Captain Marvel was really fun, and I'm kind of excited for Captain Marvel 2. I think this movie is definitely, I don't think it's a movie that's overrated or underrated. I think it got the same kind of rating that it deserved. I know a lot of people have been arguing about that. I think it's just such a fun movie, and I really enjoyed it. I found it really funny. I liked all the characters, and of course Goose is the best character Marvel's ever going to create. And coming in at number 6, what I think was the best superhero movie of 2019 is Spider-Man: Far From Home. This movie feels so much smaller than every other movie. There isn't really a planet-threatening threat throughout the whole thing. And the plot twists in it feels very different from the MCU. There's a plot twist about halfway through the movie that I'm very proud of myself because I saw it coming and nobody else in my friend group saw it coming. So when I went to go see it with my friends, they were all shocked and I was very smug about it. But it's a fun movie. It gives Peter Parker the best character arc he's ever had in any Spider-Man movie. I'm not counting Into the Spider-Verse because that's the greatest Spider-Man movie we're ever going to get. But this movie is the best live-action Spider-Man movie we've ever had. The characters are so fun, there's great cameos in it, even though it's the first movie, sadly, without Stan Lee. May he rest in peace. But the movie is just so fun from beginning to end. It's not a point where it drags, and it has the best character arcs. This is probably the movie that fully personifies what a superhero movie is to me. It feels more like one of those classic superhero movies that you see with the hero is brought to his lowest point. Everyone's against him. He's completely on his own, and then he stands up even when no one else will. And that's what makes me love Spider-Man as a hero, and also what makes me love this movie so much. So I found this really surprising. In the top 5, there were 3 Netflix originals. The number 5, 4, and 3. I was really surprised that this many Netflix originals made it into just my top 10 and then surprisingly my top 5. But coming in at number 5 is Let It Snow. This is one of my favourite Christmas movies now. Of course it wasn't at the level of something like Home Alone or the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, but it was really good. It's such a sweet movie about romance and love and just the magic of Christmas. And there's a bunch of, the plot of the movie, for those of you who haven't seen it, is it's based in a small snowy town during Christmas Eve, and a bunch of different characters are all having their different stories told, and then all the stories converge at a party. I found it so easy to follow all the character arcs, even though there was like 4 or 5 different plots going on that don't really have anything to do with the other plots in the movie. I actually watched Love Actually a couple of days after this, and I think I prefer it to that movie, even though that's thought of as the greatest rom-com of all time, because that movie just had way too many plots to follow and get invested. This gave each plot the exact right amount of screen time so that I could follow each character and each character's emotional arc and growth throughout the entire movie without feeling like one story was overdeveloped or one character was underdeveloped. And I thought that was really fun. It has some aspects of Home Alone in it, some aspects of, I think it even has some aspects of The Grinch in it, in some parts of the movie. It was just such a fun movie to watch, and I kind of watched it when my family was having a bad day, and it cheered us all up. So just, if a movie can cheer up my family when we're having a bad day, I'll like it more. It's why I love Suicide Squad. But let us know if you haven't seen it. It's definitely a great movie. Might want to wait till Christmas next year if Netflix is still around, but I think this is the best Christmas Netflix original they've ever and probably will ever make. Coming in at number 4 is Unicorn Store. That rhymed. I've talked about Unicorn Store one of my most surprising movies of 2019, so I'm not going to talk about it a bunch now, but this is a movie that a lot of people did not like when it came out, but I really enjoyed it. I found all the characters really entertaining. I found the kind of central mystery really thrilling and gripping throughout the entire movie. I haven't managed to rewatch it since I watched it, so I'm not sure how it holds up on rewatchability, but it's got some incredible acting in it that I really enjoyed, and it's not really a movie that really fits into any genres that are out right now, which made me like it even more because it felt so much more unique than anything else. It was a really fun movie, a movie that I really enjoyed and I want to watch again in the future, and I think even if you've seen all the reviews saying this is such a terrible movie, try it out anyway. You might surprise yourself. Coming in at number 3, getting the bronze medal for the best movie of 2019, is The Rim of the World. This is another movie I've talked about in my previous list. Basically, if you haven't seen it, it's a bunch of kids go to a summer camp. None of them have anything in common. There's an alien attack and they have to save the world. That's it. That's the whole movie. And it's so much fun. All the characters feel really developed without the story kind of giving us needless exposition. There's no real flashback sequences in it, which can be boring sometimes. So the movie focuses mainly on the relationships between all the kids. And all these kids have such distinct personalities that the whole thing that's so interesting. Again, there's one really rich kid, and that's all I can remember. I can't remember his name, and it's really bugging me. Easily the best character in this whole movie. Probably one of my favourite characters in all of movie history. So funny throughout the whole thing. I really want to see this actor and other things. It was such a fun movie, and all the characters, the development was so great. The one thing holding it back from getting any higher on the list is in the final act, characters make really stupid decisions that seem to only be there because they've set up these problems of the characters early in the movie, and they feel like they need to fix those problems. But there were better ways to put the characters in those situations, I think, than this. But the movie was still so much fun, and it's a movie I want to show more people because I don't think enough people have seen it. Easily the best Netflix original, I think, of all time. It's so funny, it's so exciting, there's some horrifying sequences that you're really, really scared. There's some scenes where I was laughing, which is hard for a Netflix original to do. But throughout the whole thing I was just having such a good time, and that's why Rim of the World is number 3. Okay, Netflix originals are great, we've established that. They're never going to be at the level of some cinema movies, and I think there were 2 movies that no Netflix originals came even close to. These were my top 2 favourite movies of the year. I love both of them so much now, but coming in at number 2 is Detective Pikachu. A lot of people are going to disagree with me with putting this so high up on the list, but this movie was so unbelievably satisfying. It would have been so easy to make me hate this movie. I was kind of worried about it when I heard they're making a Detective Pikachu movie. Then I heard they've cast Ryan Reynolds as Detective Pikachu, and I have no idea how this is going to work out. I didn't manage to catch it in cinemas, we just watched it in the living room one day, and it was so fun. The character arc that everyone goes through is so great, but I didn't care about any of that. The best thing about this movie is seeing all these Pokemon in live action. All the Pokemon are rendered in a way that they look realistic, but they don't look terrifying. A lot of people have tried to render Pokemon in real life before, but they've made Charmander furry, or made Gyarados look too terrifying. There's a lot of things can go wrong with it. This movie just felt so fun and so enjoyable throughout the whole thing, and none of the characters were scary. There were some absolutely hilarious moments, even coming from characters that are normally hated by the fandom, like Mr. Mime, who is a really unpopular Pokemon in the fandom, has probably the funniest scene of this movie. And throughout the whole thing, it's so fun just to see these characters that you've loved for years on the big screen. And the thing is, this movie isn't a cash grab, really. It feels like it's a movie made because the creators of it love Pokemon. They could have done a lot of things that made it look more like a cash grab, but really, it was just made because these people love Pokemon and wanted to make a good Pokemon movie. And the thing that really cemented it as one of my favorite movies of the year was in the final act of the movie, there's a Pokemon battle, and they play Pokemon battle music. They didn't have to do that. It would have been so easy just to ignore that tiny detail, but it worked so well, and it easily made Detective Pikachu not one of the best movies of 2019, one of the best movies of all time. But there could only be number one for the best movie of 2019, and that number one is Toy Story 4. This is probably the best Pixar movie they've ever made, and they have made some really good movies. This movie made me laugh, it made me cry. At one point I was laughing so hard I actually fell off my seat in the cinema. I don't want to say too much about the movie because I feel like going into it not knowing what's going on is more interesting. I'm not going to talk too long about this because I know this video is already pretty long, but this was just easily my best movie of the year. The other movies on this list weren't even in the same ballpark as how good Toy Story 4 is. I don't want them to make a Toy Story 5 or 6, but this was just so good. I think I might prefer this to Isle of Dogs, which was my best movie of 2018. Meaning, it's my favourite movie I've ever reviewed on this channel. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you all in the next year, actually. Because I've either done my live stream last night or today, when you're seeing this. So, anyway, I'll see you all next year. I'll try to put more effort into editing my videos next year. There's going to be a big gap about halfway through the year when I go through exams. But apart from that, I will see you all then. I'll talk more about it in the future. Thank you all so much for a great 2019, the best year this channel's ever had. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I hope you have too. And that's going to be the end of the 2019 videos on Owen Williams' Stories, the channel that still does not have a name. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all have a great end of the year, and I'll see you all next decade.